Good morning and welcome to the National Newspaper Publishers Association's Let It Be Known. During the midterm election, Democrats flipped one Senate seat when Lieutenant Governor John Fetterman defeated Mehmet Oz in Pennsylvania. The win assured Democrats of at least 50 seats and the majority because Vice President Kamala Harris counted as the tie-breaking vote. However, a 51-49 edge could allow Democrats freedom from conservative West Virginia Senator Joe Manchin, who blocked some of President Joe Biden's agenda during the administration's first 2 years. Just a week before the runoff in Georgia, the battle between Democrat incumbent Raphael Warnock and Republican Herschel Walker is taking shape as early voting has begun, and we'll tell you why that seat remains important. Also, this morning, Deion Sanders has confirmed on an offer from one Power 5 football team. Will he take that offer as other schools reportedly also are interested? And 3 months after their 8-year-old son, in a horrific story, suffered burns over 80% of his body at a friend's house, the parents are still searching for answers and wondering if law enforcement in Arkansas will ever do their jobs and investigate this apparent horrific crime. The young boy, who is black, went to sleep over at his friend's house, who is white, and deadly and still unexplained chaos ensued. We'll have that story and the outrage. But first, a self-avowed white supremacist who traveled earlier this year to Buffalo and shot and killed 10 African Americans at a supermarket has pleaded guilty to and various charges that include murder and other charges. We're going to discuss all of that this morning with Andrea Carter, all the way from Cincinnati.
Good morning.
Good morning. We'll talk about Dion later, but first, Andrea, this story. Let's go to Buffalo first. A white man, he traveled to Buffalo. We know it was a manifesto that he possessed. Prosecutors say that detailed his hatred for black people. He singled out the zip code there in Buffalo because it was predominantly African American. Well, he pleaded guilty to the murder charges, and he got life in prison, but he still faces federal charges that could lead to the death penalty.
Yes, I would say that I was surprised that he pled guilty.
Mm,
That came out of the blue because he initially pled not guilty, but I think with everything coming down on him and the weight of the evidence and people testifying, they probably just decided to get it over with, and because of the federal charges trying to defray that death penalty. So if
yeah,
he fesses up now, maybe he can strike a deal with the feds to say, no, no, don't put that on the table, but I'll spend life in jail. Um, because at the end of the day, cowards are still cowards,
yeah,
and they can't face their own immortality. Um, so they want to preserve their life, even though they took away so many.
yeah. I like that. Cowards are still cowards. Among the dead, Black press writer Catherine Massey. Catherine Massey was really well loved in that community up there. She did a lot of community activism. She wrote for the Challenger up in Buffalo, one of NMPA's member newspapers, and she was beloved. But so were the other nine victims, and it's going to take it's a long, long time before that community recovers because of this, like you said, this cowardly act.
And I mean, but also the trauma of what occurred not on the community. We lost 8 beloved people of the community, but also how many people are hesitant to go back into that supermarket? How many are
Mhm.
hesitant now to go out in public because you never know who's going to next step out and do what was done at that supermarket? I mean, everyone, you can't protect yourself from stepping out your front door every single day.
Yeah.
Everyone faces the same danger wherever you are. It's just that once it's been touched by your community, you live with that uneasiness. I mean, if you think back to the civil rights movement and the bombing of the churches, how many people are fearful of stepping back into that church, even if you rebuild it? How many are fearful to be in that church? How many people scatter? I mean, the impact alone that community is going to be dealing with for a long, long time because we don't know the mental health trauma. of
Oh,
what has occurred.
absolutely.
And I mean, and we've dealt with a lot, our community has dealt with a lot of trauma over the decades.
Hmm.
And I'm a lot of it has been dealt with, a lot of it has not been dealt with because our community does not face up to mental health issues like we should because there's a stigma. But at the same time, I'm for one to believe that if you need help and you need to talk with someone, go find someone to talk to because you'll
Yeah,
be
it's
healthier
important.
for it. It will get you through those trouble spots, and you're not crazy. Even if there is a stigma. I mean, my mother had one. I should say, her generation had that stigma of you don't speak up, you hold it in.
Yeah.
Well, with what we're facing in our community, you can't hold it in any longer. You have to let it go.
Yeah, these as David Childs, Dr. David Childs from the University of Northern Kentucky, is shouting you out, Andrea, because he's there. Cincinnati, Ohio, is his hometown. Um, these mass shootings, they haven't stopped, and unfortunately, it seems like there will be no legislation that will at least attempt to stop them either. And it's happening constantly, constantly. It seems like every time we roll over and wake up the next morning, there's another mass shooting.
And on top of that, what is that teaching our young people who find it easier to pick up a gun to handle their business than putting down that gun and facing and having an argument or having a discussion to settle the matter? As a reporter, I have witnessed or at least been at police scenes over my career where people have gotten shot over senseless stuff. I mean,
Hmm.
unfortunately, homicides, well, no, I'll take that back. Shootings across the country are up. And unfortunately, we just had another one the other night here in Cincinnati. We're
Yeah.
seeing it in our community where people are just picking up what's easy because we live in an on-demand world,
Well,
unfortunately.
I think it too goes back to what you were saying too about mental health. I think there's a lot of unresolved, untreated, I should say, mental health issues that it's just prevalent throughout this country, throughout the world, really, but certainly here in the United States and in all communities. And I think the coronavirus pandemic only exacerbated it.
Oh yes, it exasperated across the board in every culture, every community. I just think that Pandora's box got open, and we have not been able to close it again. It's been, we suffered trauma not just on an economic level, on a health level, on a mental health level, and also on a cultural level
Oh,
across the
yeah,
board.
across
We
the
have
board.
suffered so much trauma. I'm surprised we don't have a psychologist on every corner asking people, "Are you okay? Are you okay?
Yeah,
Do you
like
need?"
lawyers that run to accidents, right?
Right. But I mean, and some people won't even admit that they've been traumatized because they don't know. And
Mhm.
especially certain members of our community who live in lower economic income areas, they suffer so much trauma of, trying to stay in a rent control apartment if they do have rent control. And or they're a very mobile community because every few months they got to move again because they can't pay the rent because the rent has gone up so much because landlords have been trying to recoup what they lost during the pandemic, which everybody knows you can't recoup that. But
Yeah.
everyone's taking advantage of the situation.
Well,
It's trauma. And,
yeah.
I just say if you need help, get help. If you got to
Yeah.
talk, talk.
Well, will continue to uh, follow any and all progress in Buffalo, as well as, like you said, other communities. Right now, though, 51 votes, the House, the
Yes.
Senate, Democrats are seeking that 51st seat. Herschel Walker and Raphael Warnock. And it's why is that important? It's important for a lot of reasons to get that 51st seat. So right now, um, say Herschel Walker wins, Democrats still hold the majority, but it's the same as we've had the last 2 years, right? The same situation that we've seen the last 2 years, where one party, the Democrats, they have the majority because they have the vice president, who is the tie-breaking vote. But Andrea, there are other reasons why this 51st seat is still important, isn't it?
Oh yes, I think it's important to show that one, the strength of the power of the black vote is one. Two, The Democrats need a little wiggle room to be able to show that they can. Well, I take it back. They've shown that they can govern. But I think instead of relying on the vice president showing up every single time to get some work done, they need that 51 so they can, not have to rely on her all the time, and they can progress much faster in getting some work done. And also it'll put Mitch McConnell in his place to show that he's no longer in power. I mean, he still got power and he knows how to work the system. But I think the Republicans are tired of him. I think they are. I think the rumblings within the GOP is affecting everyone who has long-time leadership, long-time hold on power. I think he is seeing slowly an erosion of his effect on policy that I think the Democrats will be able to get everything through in a much easier process. And I think this time around, Schumer is not going to, broker or share power. He's just going to be like, no, this is how we're doing it, and be done with it.
Well, the other thing is, Republicans aside, Democrats have their own issues within the party. A 51st Senate seat would sort of neutralize West Virginia Senator Joe Manchin, a Democrat who is this conservative Democrat who has really single-handedly held up so much of the president's agenda and the party's agenda with the way he has.
Yeah,
really, people have called him President Manchin with all the power he wielded.
He's had a good run. I mean, Joe Manchin is only reason why I didn't mention him is because I don't like speaking his name, because he and what is her name? Senator Breitbart. I forgot what
Sinema, Arizona.
Chris Sinema, that's it. They both have taken advantage of the situation. Manchin more so than anything because he leans Republican, and he doesn't believe he's been a puppet all this time by the Republican Party, even though he quote votes Democrat. But I think he needs to be taken down a peg or two, and that 51 Senator Warnock would help the cause to neutralize him and shut him up.
Well, one of the other benefits, Andrea, too, one political analyst wrote that Democrats would much rather start the 2024 cycle with a bit of a cushion provided by Warnock win. It also it was pointed out too that Kamala Harris, anytime that there is an important vote, has to stay close to Washington. She's restricted in her everyday duties because she has to stay close to Washington in case there's a tie. And so with the 51st seat for Democrats, she doesn't have to do that. So it's one to watch. The election is coming up. It's Tuesday, the 6th.
Well,
and
I would say that a lot from what I've been seeing, I was watching both CNN and MSNBC and a few other places around, listening to what's going on in Georgia, and it seems people are turning out to vote. Early voting, they're seeing record numbers again for this, and the ads that are coming out. I think this time around, I think Warnock is being very smart in the advertising that he's putting out to put up the point. Vote who's going to be best work for you. I think also the fact that Walker. What can you say about Herschel Walker? I mean,
listen, this 1980s football hero. Herschel.
Every single time he opens his mouth, I'm just kind of like, my eyes stay glued to him, and I'm like, oh my God.
You see the Herschel Walker dance, by the way?
I did not know there was a Herschel Walker. Oh, I am not surprised.
We're still trying to figure out what was Herschel Walker doing. And then there was another video. I guess he was at home repeating the dance. It looks sort of like some sort of version of the Running Man or some version of the Running Man plus the robot plus the moonwalk plus Herschel Walker.
Okay, he's bringing back the 80s. That's all I can say.
He's bringing something back, but it ain't sexy.
He's bringing
the sexy back. He ain't doing that. Listen, Andrea, there's a story that really, really bothers my soul. In August, Jayceon Charles was severely
yes.
burned after a small explosion allegedly occurred while children roasted hot dogs at the Arkansas home of his friend. His mother, Lakeisha, told reporters that her son called her, but the call was disconnected. Justin called back, only to hear Justin, the father, called back, only to hear his baby boy crying out in pain. And Jayceon's worried parents then hurried to the friend's house. The friends, who are white, of course, and Jayceon and his parents black. This is horrendous. They find him covered in Vaseline and wrapped in plastic with serious burns. They were shocked to learn that nobody at the home, the parents or anybody, called them or paramedics. He had burns over 80% of his body. He also suffered brain damage, severe infection, and kidney failure. He was put on life support. He coded twice. And since the incident, he has had several operations, including one to extract 5 inches of his small intestine. Um, you know, the Arkansas police, the police in Little Rock to this point had done nothing. Now the Arkansas State Police said that they are taking over the investigation, and they have sent results to the Bradley County prosecuting attorney's office. This is horrendous, absolutely horrendous. I'm sorry, Andrea, but
I'm speechless. I mean, number one, as a parent, kids have sleepovers all the time. And when you allow your child to go over somebody's house, you trust them to take care of your child. And I think the kids have been friendly for a while. And the fact that the parents did not care enough to call an ambulance, call the parents, and let them know the child's been
they put him in a
hurt.
plastic bag and put Vaseline over him. This was, listen, it's a hate crime. Let's call it what
Yes,
it is.
yes.
We don't need any more evidence to show, because what makes it a hate crime? Not because it's black and white, but they didn't even call for help for this little 8-year-old boy. How heartless! How could you do that? How could you not
Well,
call for help?
I number one, I don't even believe, how do you put a plastic bag and Vaseline on burns when you know that you need to not put anything on them, get to professionals as soon as possible so they can take care of the wounds so they won't get infected. They did more damage than help that little boy. And then not to call the parents. I think they were just, number one, probably told, who knows what they told a little boy, don't bring him here or whatever, or they just pretended.
Well,
Who
it was
knows?
a sleepover. It was a planned sleepover. The two boys apparently are school friends, and they were going to an amusement park the next day. Which is why the young boy, slept over. But this, if you didn't want him there, and I don't think it's them not wanting him there. They wanted him there for some reason,
Right.
and
It's how, I guess one is, how did the explosion occur? If you're roasting marshmallows, what was in the fire? Because you don't expect anything to explode when you're roasting marshmallows unless what you're using is, combustible.
And this is the problem right here, speculation, right? Because we can
Right.
speculate, and my speculation goes a lot further than that. My speculation is that maybe that his companion, the 8-year-old, the other 8-year-old, went and set him on fire, and the parents did not call or report it because they were afraid for because it was their 8-year-old who did it.
Oh, I didn't even go there. Oh,
That's
well, you know what?
when
Little kids
you
are
leave
kids are
speculation, right?
vindictive. Oh yeah, kids are vindictive. And
Exactly.
and if he is, the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. So,
And
maybe.
there you go.
Yeah.
We're going in the same direction with that.
I hate to think that, because I like to believe all children are innocent, but at the same time, kids can be evil. Kids can. I mean, I went through it when I was growing up. I got teased. I know how mean kids can be, but that goes beyond me being kid mean. That is just whacked. To think
Well,
that
my 8-year-old never slept over anybody's house. When they were 8, they never slept over anybody's house. When they was 12, we're not doing that. We wouldn't do it.
It takes a lot of trust. I mean, if you trust them, I've had sleepovers and I've been fine. But my
We've had
mother
sleepovers.
knew,
You come over
but
here.
I mean, my mother knew who it was, and everyone. When you're in a close circle of friends, you know everybody's business, and you know your kid will be taken care of. It sounds like to me the parents didn't know these parents, but because the kids were friends, they didn't want to ruin that relationship, because that's a very healthy relationship to get to know someone outside of your culture. But at the same time,
I don't need to know them that bad.
Well,
that's true.
Friendship is a beautiful thing until it's taken advantage of, and unfortunately, there's a little evil behind this friendship. Unfortunately, we now have a little boy who is
how
suffering.
well did you know them? How well did you know the parents? I'm not casting dispersions on this Jason's parents at all. I'm just speaking as a parent myself. It's just this is what can happen, and you never think that something this bad can happen. This is as bad as it gets, without short of him dying.
Mm-hmm.
But I tell you what, somebody would have went to jail that day.
Oh yeah,
that's for sure.
Oh, definitely. Someone should have gone to jail. I mean, someone should be going to jail right now. Someone should be looking at those parents, looking at the children, how they're caring for their children. I mean, the fact, what was their thinking? What is their mental state? Were the parents drunk? Or
somebody would have went to jail that night, whether it was the parents or me. Because
somebody. I mean, someone should have gone, and on top of that, I think everyone needs to be evaluated mentally. They all need to be evaluated, because somewhere someone's covering up for someone.
Yeah, absolutely.
And
absolutely.
If that little boy thought, "Ooh, I wonder what it'd be like to set him on fire," because how do you?
Who knows what they watch? Mississippi Burning. What was they watching?
Yeah, I mean,
what were they feeding their kid?
We live in a country that loves their guns, that loves action, that likes violence, and who knows what that child has been allowed to watch and see, and how he has absorbed that information, and the fact that people are getting away left and right with a lot of things.
This little boy will never have a normal life now.
No,
never,
physically
and emotionally.
It wounds me. I mean, I've never had children, but I've been.
You don't even know him. I don't know him, but it's just like you said, it wounds me. I don't even know him.
I don't like to see children suffer. I don't even like to watch the St. Jude commercials, because I don't like to see children suffer. But I think as a Black parent, as a parent or as a Black parent, we have to be mindful of who we're allowing our kids to play with, and who we're allowing kids to sleep over.
Andrea, look at what happened over there in Mexico.
Yes.
Right.
Oh, yes.
So-called friends.
Yes, and now, I mean, police. There is a warrant issued for that one person's arrest. Another person involved. We don't know what his legal standing is. We're following that story very closely because we're appalled by what happened. I could not watch the video, but I saw the pictures, and I think
the so-called friends on a vacation, fighting. The poor girl had no clothes on, fighting.
No,
and some idiot is recording it, and instead of trying to solve the problem, stop this fighting and solve the problem, everybody's got their phones ready to. These are not friends.
No.
If your friend is going to sit there and record while you getting beat down, what more evidence do you need that this is not a friend?
No, it's not a friend. And on top of that, why have they not come forward? Even those friends who were not involved at all, they're part of the cover-up. And I know there's so much speculation going on surrounding what happened. The only real proof is that death certificate stating exactly how fast she died from those injuries tells you what occurred, and then everything else that has come after that. Who were they trying to protect?
Yeah, because complicating it too. Initially, the Mexican authorities were saying it was an accident or something.
Yeah, they thought it was alcohol poisoning. But if you read, everyone, the American news organizations covering this story have gotten third party information.
Yeah.
I went to the Mexican newspapers who had access to the police reports, and the stories that we've put up online. I've directly quoted the Mexican newspapers because they have the most accurate information,
Mm.
and
That
they
says
are
a whole
on it.
lot right there.
Well, yes, but the one news organization I've been watching, they have been on it, investigating and looking at it. They name names. They had the list of, in fact, the Mexican newspaper had the list of names of everyone who attended that trip and who was identified as the person who was beating on Chiquella and who videotaped or I should say,
Yeah.
who
How did they get the
recorded.
video, Andrea?
Someone put it up on social media.
Oh, of course. Yeah.
But I
Unreliable.
mean, let's put it like this: the one person who was supposedly recorded the incident, obviously he put it up on social media. He probably put it up on social media either A, to show what happened, or B, to protect his life, because the person who did the beatdown, now they're a murderer and they're on the run.
Well,
And
it's going to be interesting too, because Mexico, like you said, has an arrest warrant. Will the U.S. extradite this person to Mexico? Now,
yes,
and one reason why that's important and interesting, I say, is because whenever America wants someone from Mexico, they expect Mexico to cooperate. It's going to be interesting if this, you think about, and you hate to boil everything down to black and white, but let's face it, if these wasn't, if she wasn't black,
yeah.
it'd be a different story, right?
Yes, it would be a different story, but I mean, I think on top of it, what I find interesting is that the everyone got out of Mexico right away, right after she died.
Yeah.
And I'm kind of like, and they personally told the parents it was alcohol poisoning. But then when they got the body and the death certificate, it was a different story. They had to have another autopsy to
Wait, but who
prove it.
told it was alcohol? Wasn't it the friends who said it was
The
alcohol?
friends told the
The
parents it was
friends,
alcohol
okay.
poisoning. They called them. And I'm just kind of like, what those friends now cannot be, they can't get a hold of them, they can't find them. Everybody's on the run. And I'm like, you just made it worse. The only good news is that they're on American soil and it didn't happen here. It happened in Mexico.
Well, yeah, I don't know if that's
But
good news, but
it's well, I mean, in terms of
for them,
for them, they're thinking, let's just get home. We'll be way away from the issue. We
yeah.
can't be caught. But I just like, you made it worse by not speaking up, by not giving testimony, because the only names in the police report are the two individuals involved with the initial incident, and then the first responders, the doctor, and the official. Now, mind you, to get a body out of Mexico, you have to get the consulate involved. You have to get the Mexican authorities involved to be able to ship the body back home. I'm just surprised how there's so much that went on behind the scenes because of the difficulty of. I had a friend who needed help getting a body out of a country, and they had to go to their U.S. senator to get that. No, I'm sorry, the congressman to get help to get the body shipped. Now, surprisingly, they had no issue. That body was sent back home right away. So there's a cover up, not just from the friends, but from the Mexican officials who responded. And on top of that, protecting, there was in one news organization alleged that they're protecting the image of the villa because so many tourists go there. And the funny thing about this, after I started,
that's it's so ridiculous. The villa
you
is
know
not.
What? I was searching for information and looking to see what else has been coming up. Do you know I got an ad on a Black Friday sale of going to that villa?
Well, listen, let me tell you something.
I'm not going there, but anyway.
Here's the thing. There's a song years ago. I think it was Teddy Pendergrass, Harold Melvin and the Blue Notes. Wake up, everybody! Black folks, wake up!
Yep.
It's time. It's time to stop sleeping.
Yes.
It's time to stop sleeping. Deion Sanders. What's the latest, Andrea?
From Dion's mouth during an interview, he claimed that he got an offer from University of Colorado to go out there to coach. Now, whether or not he's going to accept that offer, he hasn't said yet, because right now he's concentrating on the upcoming game. I think for the SWAC championship, I believe it.
Yes, but how's he? He wants to concentrate on the game, but he's the one who put it out there that he got the offer.
Yeah, I mean, and really, truly, in negotiations, you don't reveal what you got until you sign the paperwork. I mean, take a look at Bearcats. Luke Fickell was coaching the Bearcats over the weekend in a game against, I forgot who they were playing. I think it was Tulane. And, during that time, speculation started coming out after that game that he was going to Wisconsin. Then it got confirmed. The next thing you know, he's out, and he's announcing just yesterday he was out in Wisconsin saying, "Thank you very much. I'm glad to be your head coach."
But Andrew, let me ask you this: if Deion does leave Jackson State, he's done a whole lot for HBCUs by being at Jackson State and HBCU programs. But how does it affect HBCUs? How does it affect his impact that he's had? Does it distort it at all?
You know what? Even though I would hate to see Deion leave Jackson State, I think that his leaving Jackson State and going to a Big Ten school ups the level of experience of HBCU coaches. I think it raises the bar on excellence, on skill set, on coaching, not just for HBCUs, but also it's a wake-up call for universities that they don't have to keep going to the same group of people all the time to look for a head coach.
And you're right, I understand that, but what about the message to all these students that he made, not just for Jackson State, students everywhere started making a conscious decision. Let me look at HBCUs because Deion has changed the whole game there. But what does that say to them? It's like, okay, he's going, to a PWI.
Yeah.
What is that telling these kids?
Well, it tells the kids that, the grass is not always greener on the other side of the street. I don't know. I mean, it's
a mixed message.
Yes, it is a mixed message, but I think it's a message of looking to HBCUs are a great place to be. I went to an HBCU. I had a great education. I didn't play in the sports because I'm not that coordinated. But I got a great education, and I've had a great career. I think that it teaches the kids that HBCUs will get you to a certain level. And then if you want to dream big and dream for more, you can achieve that level of getting more. And maybe that's the message Deion is sending, that I've elevated your skill set. And even if you start at an HBCU, you can then go to bigger and better things, which people have done. I've known people who graduate from HBCUs and gone on to Harvard and Yale and Stanford, all of those schools. But I mean, as a football coach, that's a different. Head football coaches at white colleges are mainly white. They are not black.
Absolutely. Head football coaches in the NFL are white.
Right. But I'm just saying that he's breaking that color barrier when it comes to becoming a college football coach at a Big Ten school. You got to start somewhere. And I think it might be, come to HBCU, we'll get you going. But as a coach, eventually, hey, I went to Colorado, so can you. Blah, blah, blah. I
don't want to go to Colorado.
Well, I mean,
send me to Howard, send me to Morgan.
I mean, in terms of, what's interesting is like here, like I said, Luke Fickell has gone to Wisconsin, and now the Bearcats for University of Sen are looking for a new head coach, and the local news organization put up a potential list of who could be listed. Now, out of all the people they listed, Deion Sanders was in there. Now, they said he was but they put in that article, he was an offshoot. He didn't have a chance. I was
Let me tell you
like,
something, that Andrea. Here's two comments I got to lift up because I agree with both these comments. First, Dr. David Childs, University of Northern Kentucky, you're a neighbor. He says, I think that if Deion leaves, it sends the message again that people always abandon our institutions. It does send a mixed message. It diminishes his legacy. He would be going far for better. He would be going for better personal opportunities. And then, of course, uh, Bobby Henry, West Side Gazette publisher, says, I would like to see Coach Prime go down in history with Coach Jake Gaither, Coach Eddie Robinson, the great Eddie Robinson, and the other great HBCU coaches. I'm with Bobby on that. And then, of course, David Childs says, why are the white institutions viewed as better? And when Deion himself has showed you that you can make it at an HBCU just as much as you can make it at a PWI.
Money.
Yeah.
It's money, because I mean, if you Big Ten schools pay more.
They pay.
And I mean, and that's money. If you want a bigger paycheck.
I'm like, who said it? All money ain't good money.
Right. It's not good money, because I mean, he could be out in a year. And
right. There's no right. I mean, the loyalty, the love, the reverence that Deion has built up there, not only at Jackson State. Remember, this is every HBC. Deion is every HBCU. They all behind him. Every single HBCU in the nation, right?
Yes.
And you're not going to be able to get that at Colorado, Purdue, Notre Dame. You're not getting that anywhere else except, and Bobby Henry mentions that great Eddie Robinson. Eddie Robinson did not need to go to a PWI. We know that no matter what they say, no matter what anyone says, the greatest head football coach of all time is Eddie Robinson.
He was fantastic. I mean, he was the best. In
Grambling
coaching.
State.
Grambling State. I mean, that was the place to beat. And for an HBCU football program, they were the standard. Now it's Jackson State, quote, is the standard. You just don't know. I think HBCUs have always had great football teams. There's always have great rivalry. We have the classics where we see the football teams playing each other. We've always been there.
Look at those. Look at that picture right there. Now you see those kids on the side.
Yes.
Not the players, but the kids. That's what we're talking about. The impact, right?
Yeah.
Not just the players, but those little kids there. That's so powerful.
It is powerful.
It's amazingly powerful. All I'm saying is think twice, think long and hard before you give that up, Deion. Deion is the person of the year for the Texas Metro News, by the way. Cheryl Smith, she usually watches. If she's watching, we know. We read the Texas Metro News all the time. Person of the year.
Well, he should be person of the year. I mean, he's done so much for football programs. He's put a shine on them. He has, even though Deion is such a huge character, he takes up a lot of air in the room when he walks in the door. So
it's hot air.
It's a lot of hot air. But I mean, at the same time, yes, I want him to stay. Yes, I want him to do more for all the football programs within the HBCU. But at the same time, I can't be mad at him for chasing the almighty dollar, because that's the American way. I mean,
it is, but
I mean, at the same time, the generations of the Eddie Robinsons, where they stayed and built a legacy, they're not there anymore.
I'm gonna tell you right now, and I know maybe this is apples to oranges, but if Washington Post or New York Times or somebody like that came to me and said, come work for us, I'll give you more than the black press. Thanks, but no thanks. I'm staying home. Home. I've been there, done that.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, I've traveled. I've worked for a number of news organizations, and I'm back to where I started. I started at the Cincinnati Herald, and I'm back at the Cincinnati Herald. And
there you go.
That's where I've been downsized. I've been, I've achieved a number of achievements. I've covered a lot of stuff, and I'm back to where I started, helping out a news organization become bigger and better in this new online world. of and covering our community, and I'm having fun doing it. So I mean, there's a lot to be said about our Black organizations, our
It's a
news
lot
organizations,
to be.
and HBCUs. And I'm a very proud Central State University grad. I wear my paraphernalia well to
Mhm,
present, to promote my university. But it is there's something to be said of having attended an HBCU to go to an HBCU. There's
mhm,
something about culture. There's something about, the friends you make, the education. I think in times is better because the classes are smaller and you have more one-on-one with the teacher than you do at a bigger university. Though there are some advantages of being at a bigger university, but
mhm.
still,
Yeah.
um, HBCUs rule.
Well, you know what? Deion Sanders, hopefully at the end of the day, he'll he's got to make the best decision for his family, right? At the end of the day, it seems like I don't know what his contract is with Jackson State. I don't know what they're paying him. I have no idea, but it seems like it's more than enough to take care of him, his grandchildren, and beyond. And so,
And on
um,
top of that, I think if he stays at Jackson State, he's already done an Aflac commercial. He can get more,
yeah,
more, more
that's the thing,
endorsement deals that will compensate his contract. So I mean, there are more ways than one than just going to a Big Ten school, unless he
right?
wants a coach in a Big Ten, just
Yeah,
because it's a Big
and,
Ten.
and don't forget his nickname, Prime Time, and he
Yes,
likes the spotlight. He
yes, he
loves
does.
ever since his playing days. Nothing has changed there. This stuff we're showing right now, he eats that up. He has his pregame and then his postgame, music, hip hop blasting, dancing, doing this, doing that, whatever. Dion loves the spotlight, prime time. And so, you know what? Hey,
He's
he's been
he
successful. He has a right to do whatever he wants to do. I'm just here to say that I just think that it's not the move.
really truly. I think I understand if he wants to do that move, but at the same time, I think he will make more and be more if he stays where he is.
Yeah, I think so
And
too.
and I
Exactly. You
mean,
got to
I
look
mean,
at the bigger picture,
in terms of um, the players want to play for him.
right?
Um,
These are
and
like
on
his kids,
these are his, and on top of that, I think he will get more endorsement deals down the road. I mean, he's proven that he's gotten better equipment, better. I think he's got a shoe deal out of
yeah.
this as well.
Dion has a lot. He has an enormous amount of power that he's been able to
It
gain since he came to Jackson State.
and I
Um,
think really and truly he'll lose that power if he goes to Colorado.
absolutely.
And it is he'll do more for himself and the kids if he stays. But at the same time, we don't know what is in his heart of what he needs to quote be successful. We don't know
Mhm.
what his career plan is.
Yeah,
So, but it's we'll have to wait and see what
we
happens
will see.
next.
We will see. Well, Andrea Carter, Cincinnati Herald, we appreciate you so much.
Thank you.
And give our love to the Cincinnati Herald, to Walter, and even Jan Michelle. I know she's not in the everyday uh, operations, but she is still. When we think of the Herald, we think of Jan Michelle.
Well, both of them are extremely busy, but I will tell them that you wish them well and you said hello, and
Absolutely.
we're here.
Thank you so much, and thank you
Thank you.
all for joining. Let it be known. We will see you tomorrow.